Morad Fareed, Dr. N, thank you very much for joining us. The topic of the conversation we're going to have is about building healthier humans. Now, Square Roots has a very particular vantage and perspective on this issue of building healthier humans, the maternal environment. Morad, can you tell us a little bit about Square Roots and this maternal environment, why it's important to building healthier humans?
So this story probably starts 14 years ago when we were building an organization called Delos. And Delos was formed basically to understand the effect of the environment on human physiology. And we spend 90% of our time indoors. We've never evaluated what buildings are actually doing to us. And so what Delos started to do was identify strategies to make buildings healthier. And along this period of time, we basically synthesized over 1,000 scientific journals, medical reports, architectural experiments into a standard. And during this period, the World Health Organization also came out with a lot of stuff, including 70% of our health right now is determined by our environment. Not our doctor, not our genes, not our behavior. And so if you have 70% of your health and you have this body of science, where do you point it at? It just became logical to point it at the most important period of life, of your formation, which is when you're in the womb, which is when 70% of your brain is forming. So if you think about it, you have 70% of your health related to environment, pointed at 70% of your brain development, this 9-month period in the womb. And you could account if you take 70 and 70, that's 49%. Almost half of your development happens through maternal environments. So that was kind of the origin of the concept.
I mean, this seems to be a fundamental issue related to human development, human progress. And it wasn't until I met you that this issue was on my radar. What do you think is prevented that information from making its way around?
Personally, I just think it's so obvious that we don't think about it. It's nothing new is being said here. It's, these are facts that have been around a long time, and it's very sensical when you hear it. It just makes sense that your time in the womb is your greatest developmental period. So why not really emphasize all the healthy inputs you can during this period? And the influences that could have on your own development are what we're learning a lot about right now. But I don't think we've discovered anything that we didn't know. We just connected a few dots.
Morad, can you tell me a little bit about, you mentioned Delos, essentially coming up with this new standard, understanding the built environment's effect on human physiology. Can you talk a little bit about Square Roots and the particular research you're doing to understand the maternal environment and how that affects fetal development?
Sure. So one of the things that blew my mind when I heard about it was the connection of maternal stress to fetal brain development. So if a mom in the prenatal period is chronically stressed, meaning elevated cortisol, it actually shrinks the frontal lobe of the baby. And frontal lobe is responsible for a lot of important functions. So how mom feels essentially influences how well a baby's brain functions or how big it is or parts of it are. And that just blew my mind. I mean, if you think about that would suggest the most important thing that we can do in this period is to make sure we don't have chronically stressed pregnant women. And what does that mean? How do you actually introduce solutions for that? The environment's a great place to start. And what does environment mean? It doesn't just mean the built environment or the environment in terms of physical outdoor environment. It means social environment, cultural environment, economic environment. And so it's kind of a holistic approach to say, we need a systems approach to really support pregnant women, because the future generations that are being born are going to be influenced by how mom feels right now. And that connectivity is just fascinating to me.
Why is there a crisis in maternal health? And tell me a little bit about how essentially Square Roots is going to be addressing it.
It's the largest epidemic in the United States that nobody really talks about, in my view. And the more I dug into it, the more I learned about it, it was shocking. We rank 54th in the world in infant mortality, 61st in maternal morbidity. We spend more money than any other country in the world on pregnancy. And there are so many, the stats are staggering. And we're moving in the wrong direction on pretty much every marker. And when you account for racial disparity, it's even an uglier picture. And so, there are systems issues, there are structural issues, and there are social issues. But I think, what is for sure is we're failing moms. in the United States, and it's starting, I think, to get some recognition, but the magnitude of it is not yet fully even understood.